Blue side here to start off game number 2, and the blue side didn't necessarily help them out in game number 1, even though we thought their draft was pretty good. As we're going to start with the same bans here, and we'll see what this draft does look like as we get into it. There's that Annie I was talking about that we saw often into Orianna, but now with Orianna and Ryze gone, Annie also going to be banned away.
We'll see what the draft holds in store for us. A lot of those first pick threats, the jungles continue to be banned away. The Wukong is gone. The Pantheon was banned in game 1. See if that or the Yunara do get taken away here once again as we finish off our first round of bans. There's the Pantheon here on blue side. I imagine the Yunara will follow on red side for GENG as that final.
I am also kind of curious. Last time they banned Jarvan, Orianna is obviously gone. We'll see if they just prioritized the Jarvan as heavily because of the combo that was available, or because they think that is just a type of jungle pick for which there really isn't a great way to play into it.
I think it's a trade, right, of the Jarvan and the Yunara here. They'll give the Yunara while banning the Jarvan. So it's up to Hanwha Life Esports if they're confident to put this pick to Viper. We've seen so many attempted counter picks by Ruler himself, even with the Smolder, press the attack in the bottom lane response. GENG definitely have something ready for this, or they would not have given it over.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have to. It's very obvious that this comes through. Already Annie and Wukong banned away, even Pantheon as well, the Jarvan. So many answers from the jungle that you might see into the Yunara and from the mid lane. So it's just going to be Taliyah. But what else? This is definitely still a high-tier pick, but what will we see paired with it?
Yeah, I was about to say, I think it's just Taliyah's in. They have had a crazy track record. Even though when I think of Canyon, I don't even know if he's in the top 3 of Xin Zhao's. When we think about Owner, obviously, is the standout. We had things like the crazy Lucid game. But I did peek Canyon's win rate on the champion. Ooh. And it is simply ridiculous. This is a solid counter pick into it. It's good into Taliyah as well. But there's a reason why Xin Zhao Taliyah, for a large part of this year, was basically just not allowed to ever come through.
I'd rather see something else than the Trundle, though, in this situation. Only really Canyon's been able to pull off that Skarner counter pick, but they're going to still commit this Trundle pick here for Peanut. There's just not a lot of lockdown or frontline for this Yunara in this draft, so you kind of have to scrap early and try to get her online a little bit quicker with this draft here for Hanwha Life Esports.
It's got to be Mbessa, right? We're playing into Rumble. That matchup has been pretty manageable. This is a really big show of confidence, both in Keen's Championship and in Duro's impact on Rakan.
Yeah, I think, Duro wasn't really the highlight player of game number 1. He had a couple of knockups, but it was mostly kind of just follow-up. He wasn't really leading the play. I think Rakan into Yunara now. The onus is going to be on him to make some of these big engaged plays. We'll see if they get any more engaged, because as you mentioned, the Mbessa is probably going to be banned away at this point as we move into the second phase here. Should be denied away from Keen.
See how many tanks end up making it through, because you don't really want to play a tank anymore here on GENG's side with a Trundle on the other side. But if you want to try to Viper swap away from the Yunara lane, you probably need one. So ends up being kind of tricky here in terms of the 2v2. The Rakan will help you in sustain in that bottom lane 2v2 to kind of stave off the pressure in those first few levels where the Yunara can take over with her Q. See what the bans are going to look like here. Obviously, the Nico is already off the table here, so you don't have that insane Yunara kill lane that is never going to be allowed, and it's obviously Fearless ban here. The Sivir makes a lot of sense because the Jarvan was not a factor in this game, was banned once again.
It's kind of interesting that the priority on Ruler's Champion pool continues, not because I think that the Sivir isn't a good ban, especially when you're playing a pretty short-range composition thus far, but I would really expect them to pay at least a little bit of respect to Keen's champion pool because of the fact that the matchup is already known. That said, GENG can also just slam an AD carry again here and kind of keep hidden what Keen is going to play.
There's not a lot of engage here for Hanwha Life thus far, and they banned the Lulu away because they don't want that losing lane. This kind of does feel like it could be a Smolder angle. They've tried it once before. You have a decent front line here. There's not a lot of great ways to lock the Smolder down. I'm going to save that pick for last, though, and instead pick the Gwen into the Rumble.
They want to know 100% what they're playing into in the bottom lane. They already know the Rumble is top. They picked the Gwen here. For Keen, it's a tier list pick, and especially after Rumble's nerfs and stuff, Gwen has done pretty well, and it's a whole heaping helping of extra damage for this team.
I was wondering whether they wanted to go towards something like a Ziggs, just to try and have an additional layer to the composition and just have something that doesn't really need to interact. But with the Gwen, that is kind of off the table. Obviously, it would be way too much AP. Is okay. Coming through here, the Akali for Zeka. That's a big risk. Into Talia Rakan.
I can't say I support this choice. You know, in terms of the mid lane matchup, it's tough alone. But you're also now just trying to all in into getting this Yunara online early, getting this Akali online early. You have really no other robust frontline here for Viper in this game. It's all damage as your frontline. The best defense for this Yunara, I suppose, is going to be an offense in Hanwha Life's mind with this Leona lock-in here as well. A strong counterpick to the Rakan in terms of the laning phase, but you don't know what AD carry you're up against just yet. Now, Smolder, I mentioned earlier, is still a possibility here for Ruler, but instead opting for that Kai'Sa hover, and it will lock it in. It was banned in Game 1, available here in the second. GENG have already won one game on red side. Here in Game 2, opt to wait and see what the full composition is before locking in that Kai'Sa. And in Game 1, overall, I think the three of us liked Hanwha Life's draft. It had a clear identity. I don't think I could say the same about their Game 2 draft here. And on the side of GENG, they have so many answers.
Really does feel like this is two very short-range compositions with some ultimates notwithstanding. And it's going to be whoever pulls ahead first. If you are playing either of these compositions behind, I think you're just going to be feeling miserable. It's going to be really hard to contest. I gotta be very, very suspicious, though, of this choice for the Akali. I'm pretty sure we saw Cousin BDD run this exact mid-jungle 2v2. It was not pretty. Now, that did also involve BDD getting solo killed, kind of by his own volition. But that was just into Talia. This is into Rakan as well. So I think that it's going to be a very, very narrow tightrope to walk here for Hanwha Life. And we'll have to see if they can pull it off.
It's Zeka. You know, that's the thing we haven't mentioned. It is one of his most iconic picks, right? Like, this is Zeka, one of the people who can get it done on Akali, has gotten it done at Worlds, his World Championship through an Akali meta. I just don't know if it suits in this draft here.
So we have someone here cheering for maybe the side of GENG. I see a lot of GENG signs there, but also signs for Zeus. So we're not going to know who, but either way, it does feel like Hanwha Life have they've thrown the gauntlet, and we'll see if they can do it here on Comfort in game number 2.
하나 생명, 하나, 둘, 셋. 젠지, 하나, 둘, 셋.
Game number 2 already beginning. GENG taking a strong lead with the first win. Hanwha Life Esports picking Akali for Zeka alongside of Peanuts Trundle. Not the strongest mid-jungle duo, but will require Zeka to not get too far behind and also to have an impact. At least they have 3 threats, so even if Zeka isn't doing too much, maybe the other two can pull the weight, but same thing on the side of GENG with the Gwen, Talia, and Kai'Sa.
The exhaust picked up here for Keen. It's a common tech in this matchup, and will also help him out into the Akali later on in the game as well. Very powerful to shut down the Akali in team fights. And even the Yunara is a great exhaust target, so do like this choice from Keen quite a bit.
Just the more I think about it, if I could pick as a three-man unit of Xin Zhao, Talia, and Rakan versus Leona, Trundle, Akali, I feel like GENG really gave themselves a great angle here again. The lanes obviously have to play out the way that they like as well. Kai'Sa to me is such an interesting character as Viper and the Light actually putting the hurt on here because she is a really interesting kind of hybrid carry that obviously has a ton of damage late game, but also has really good self-heal between the empowered E as well as the ultimate, and we'll see how Ruler can use that to try and play into the amount of backline threat that's there for Hanwha.
I like how aggressively Delight and Viper are playing this, knowing that at level 1, the Leona feels very strong here. It is a Yunara lane, committing the barrier to try to chunk that health out so they can maintain tempo pressure, because if you just trade evenly, the Rakan just nullifies a lot of that. And Kai'Sa is relatively weak in these early levels, so trying to make sure they have that prio guaranteed here is going to make things a lot easier. Here in the mid lane, however, it's going to take a while before Zeka is no longer bullied.
Yeah, Tovi undefeated here on the Taliyah 6-0. Hasn't even played that much. I feel like it was banned a lot against him. And for a lot of the early parts of the LCK as well, when it was very strong, alongside of the Xin Zhao. But the Xin Zhao, 16 games for Canyon played. And Tovi is 19-2 in the LCK on Taliyah. So that's even more impressive when we look at his entire LCK career.
With a KD of 9. That's,
They didn't lose a lot of those games, so I suppose...
I guess your KDA would be high.
Still very impressive stuff. He missed the cannon, though, so we can throw those stats out the window.
How good is he really?
Yeah.
It's actually not his.
He's not Tovying very well.
Well, I do see a bit of a potential opportunity here for Peanut to make an impact in the mid lane. Oh, just going to grab Scuttle. It looked like he was going to potentially wrap around, but Chovy's positioning difficult to punish. Canyon a little bit behind the curve in terms of the jungle clear, but should be able to pick his Scuttle up.
I didn't actually catch what happened, whether he took a specific path and was trying to cover somewhere. Because this is an exceptionally slow jungle clear, right? Like normally, even on the slowest junglers, you're generally be done around the time that Scuttle Crab spawns. So almost gets double scuttled here, Canyon.
We're going to maybe turn this one around as the max range. Wind becomes lightning. He's going on in, but they're not fully committing to this. And now the slow is there on a Canyon. Make that a pillar follow-up as the flash away, but still they flash jump on in. The exhaust going to help out big time. And now Peanut's taking so much damage in this front line, but so is Keen. But at the end of the day, Canyon going to turn this one around as his flashes in, tries to take it 1v2, but instead gets sat down by Canyon.
At least he was able to get the kill very, very close there in the final moments. It's a really strong 2v2 here for Zeus and Peanut if they get to fight second there, but they're not quite able to get it done. Peanut goes back in to the waiting arms of Keen. As you can see, the start here looks good for GENG, but they end up kind of overextending here. And this is where it looks like, okay, Zeus has enough heat here. They actually have the damage. The pillar goes down, but Peanut critically going a bit too deep.
And for me, Zeus is a little bit too early there, and he didn't actually get a lot of empowered autos off while he was overheated. And then especially with Red Buff, especially with Conqueror, for Canyon and for Keen, like they have so much sustain early on. The Xin Zhao passive actually does a big number. I know he doesn't have Sundered Sky yet, but you still got to be careful in these longer fights.
Well, it's going to happen pretty quickly, right?
Yeah.
2-0 already. Canyon wasn't necessarily the main character last game. Started off 0-2. Now he's got the exact opposite scoreline. And just comes from being in the right place at the right time and winning a good 2v2.
Now, I don't want to be a game one, Andy, obviously.
How about a game two, Andy?
Yeah, I'm starting. Well, hey, the Hanwha Live struggles this year did start when GENG reverse swept them.
Yeah.
So we're also not going to be a game. Maybe we'll have to be game 3 Andy's by necessity, though, if it continues this way.
I mean, the scary thing is since that moment, since GENG's reverse sweep, they have never beaten GENG this year. And
yes,
that is a kind of staggering stat, but GENG's dominance makes it very believable. And this big moment here in the second game, GENG already taking a small lead. Now, Hanwha Life will get this first dragon, maybe more, looking for more.
Yeah, Delay really trying to exert a lot of pressure down there and push them away. Zeus does not have his flash. Now the needles are coming in. Keen taking an aggressive trade as he is getting low, but not low enough as Canyon gets in, picks up a third kill. As Hanwha Life get the Drake, but now you've got a 3-0 Xin Zhao.
And Zeus disrespecting there. You are on the weak side. Your team is taking the dragon. And I'm sorry, Canyon. I did slander your Xin Zhao a little bit, if only, you know, relative to some of your compatriots. I apologize. I should have been familiar with your game. You're currently 3-0 and about 850 gold up on Xin Zhao, a champion that notoriously snowballs insanely well.
Yeah, he's refamiliarizing all of us with his game at the moment, and this is a misread from Zeus, right? Ult's here to help clear the wave, but does a bunch of damage to Keen, so he's like, maybe I have an angle here? He's a little bit indecisive with it, but as you mentioned, you're on the wrong side of the map to make this exchange while your jungler is taking Dragon.
Yeah, I mean, he was just too close. I think eventually once the needles hit him, maybe he realized, hey, I can't get out. I'm just slow to Xin Zhao's here, I'm dead. That's me giving him the benefit of the doubt. I think he can't be that close to get hit, though, because he needs to be playing carefully, as you guys have pointed out.
It's also a good sell by Keen. I think Keen purposefully takes a little bit of that extra damage on the equalizer there, which is, together with Zeus just being a little bit too eager, what prompted him to go in. and that means that the gold lead towards the top side of the map, absolutely ludicrous. The upside for Hanwha is that this does mean that bot lane hasn't really been bothered whatsoever, which means we are starting to see a Viper build a bit of a lead, and I do think Rumble, as far as picks that can be put behind and still have an impact go, is still pretty solid. But then I look at the CC, there isn't actually that much lockdown to enable this equalizer.
Yeah, that's the thing about this draft to me that I have serious issue with, and why I often have issue with Akali in this meta is you need to have a lot of lockdown in most compositions in professional play here at the LCK, and the Akali just doesn't give you any of that. She gives you burst damage. If she gets accelerated, her CC is deleting people, as we're going to see a potential all-in here, but once Duro shows up, Viper thinks better of it.
That is good CC.
Yeah, it is, but now he got some needles coming on in. Keen taking an aggressive trade once again. The overheat comes out as Exhaust utilized. Keen, he wants the kill, and he wants it now. He will pick it up, but he does go down in the trade. Has to utilize Exhaust as well for that one, so I suppose Zeus will be happy with the way that one went. As, by the way, as that was all happening, all the grubs go over to Peanut and Hanwha Life Esports.
Yeah, I don't think that's exactly the outcome Keen was hoping for there. As Viper sitting on his ultimate here with Peanut on top side, this is definitely a diveable situation with the wave they have, but it's too high risk. I think they were Khan with Flash and ultimate available, and Canyon now spotted in the vicinity. They definitely wanted to go for it, but they think better of it.
I think they were kind of testing the waters there. We also saw Zeka roam up halfway through the jungle to maybe try and go for a collapse, but if Canyon's there, you just can't go for that play. 4v2, I think you can pull that off. When you're 4v3, especially if Fed's in Zhao, that's just not going to work.
Zeus here in this bottom lane, trying to make something happen again. The wave's not in a great spot. Equalizer here ends up getting a decent amount of value as he tries to trade back. Again, he's forced into this, gets exhausted. Now could have, you know, if he had Flash here, maybe turned this away and gotten away, but I think his Flash had just come back up at that moment, so it doesn't have it. Doesn't opt to have it if he did have it, or doesn't opt to use it. And he has Flash still now, but you can see in this collapse that we have on the bottom side, maybe there's an angle. Now, Canyon is rotating down at the same time, so is Duro. And what Hanwha Life want to do right now is get some kills on either this Akali or Yunara as soon as possible, so they're constantly trying to set up these dives. They're constantly trying to set up pinches here, but GENG have had so far good answers, and Canyon's here once again.
Canyon is here, and I don't think that you can fight against Canyon. He got a 9.5-minute Sundered Sky. This Xin Zhao is unkillable. They have the man advantage, but they're not going to be able to dive this turret by any means. Well, I say that, they're trying to look for it actually, but the Kai'Sa's coming down. The turn coming out here from GENG is cautious, especially with the Akali out on the map, but they'll prevent any kind of dive from happening on the bottom lane as TP almost interrupted there actually. But Zeus does get back up to the top lane and no dive or fight even occurs.
Yeah, I really liked, even though Keen ends up trading 1-for-1, I think that was still him going that aggressive was because Zeus's Flash was like 9 seconds off as that play came through. So he was just trying to look for the punish. I think he did still take too much damage. I just don't think he goes for the final dash in if that Flash is available as Ruler.
Yeah, a bit of an all-in on here. We do get the charm. It's basically just for peel. You can see that Viper is still continuing to be as aggressive as possible, and Ruler and Duro giving him the respect he deserves.
I think they were trying to punish the fact that Viper used ult in the previous exchange, but doesn't really go their way because Viper has Kraken Slayer and Ruler has a cause. Oh, Canyon.
Well, we got full summoners here for the side of Hanwha Life Esports. We'll see if Viper can get away. He's not going to flash the knock-up, uses the barrier, and at the end of the day, he just goes down, and now the Talia's in. That's 2 kills now for GENG.
They have to get something cross-map here. They have to, or they're in big trouble.
They might just be able to exhaust is still on cooldown, and 3v1, they will be able to at least take down Keen, but that is 2 kills. 1 more in a Canyon's pockets, 1 for Ruler to help catch him up, and the Dragon on top of it.
And the Canyon was able to get so much in this exchange. Like, during that fight in the bottom lane, he was able to get Raptors, then wrap around to get into the bottom there. I think Hanwha Life just did not account for it, then rushed to make the play topside. They will be able to get this turret as well, so that's a lot of gold injected here into Hanwha Life.
I do actually think that this play isn't all that bad for Hanwha. They get first turret, and the gold swing is pretty sizable because Chovy also TPs the bot lane here. In hindsight, might not really have been necessary if you look at how the play shakes out, because it means that that is what frees up the play towards topside, and this is 3 plates, a turret, and about 3 full waves that are just gonna get blown up. There isn't a response ready as the dive from Hanwha Life is clean. And that does mean that Zeka is actually off to a great start in this game.
Yeah, he's been spending some time alone, getting some additional farm. He has that kill there as well, and he does pick up a lead that he so desperately needed. And the question is, what happens in these next few fights here for Hanwha Life? Are they able to use this slim lead that he has right now, you know, maybe on this Herald fight, for example, to explode and get into this position where Viper is a threat faster than he otherwise would be? Because I think that's how this composition has to work for Hanwha. If they lose control of this game, I don't think they ever get it back. If game one is anything to go by, but if compositions are anything to go by as well.
See a bit of a freeze up in the top lane. Zeka going to join Keen up here and try to break the freeze. Should be successful. But a little bit of golden XP denied away from Hanwha Life Esports, but a nice little freeze from Keen. And it feels like, you know, somewhat of an even game at this point, but certainly the gold where you'd want it, I would say, here for Hanwha Life Esports, on that Akali, on the Rumble. Yes, the Xinjiao very strong, but it's just one guy, and your Kai'Sa's going to take a little while to get online.
It's a really important Herald here because it's a lot of map control to be gained by taking out that mid turret. They already have the topside turret. It's also feats of strength, so these are reasons why GENG might want to opt into this fight. But Hanwha Life absolutely want to fight right now with this Akali and try to win a clean fight to get Viper further ahead here. So this is a really important timing here where GENG need to make a clean decision. Do we outplay them with a Weaver's Wall? Do we try to force this fight, or do we simply give it up and try to get something elsewhere? Because this fight could blow up in the game.
Trying to go on a ruler here that's already a ton of damage as in goes to Leona, but Duro is there for the peel, takes a bunch himself, but the follow-up from Chovy gets there on time. The equalizer only hitting Canyon as eventually Ruler doesn't have any way to get out, and they do collapse onto him. It's a 1-for-1 trade. Lots of damage done here by HLE, and they're pushing bot at the same time.
That's a big win for Hanwha because they're also able to, again, get Zeka even more gold. Make the player good punish there on the flashless Kai'Sa. Don't think it's going to lead to an objective, so it does mean that Hanwha Life isn't able to further build upon the lead if they got bot lane turret as well, but they still get the TP out of Keen. That's going to be TP advantage now. The only downside is Viper flashed in that play, as did Zeus, and those are two very valuable cooldowns.
Yeah,
it's a delight that starts us up.
And I was talking about, you know, the Herald, but Hanwha Life, like, forget that. We're going to look for any pick that we can, and they end up getting Ruler's ultimate here early. The re-engage looks like it's actually potentially going to be able to save or peel, but it's unsuccessful. Ruler gets blown up here in the end, and it's more money to these carries here for Hanwha Life. Now we're on this fight here for the Herald. Zeus does not have his ultimate back online just yet, though.
It was Zeus' ultimate, though, that killed Ruler there, because he couldn't actually walk it off the way that he wanted to.
They're committing to a fight on the bottom side here with the exhaust. They want to take down Zeka, but he's Akali. This is very difficult to lock down. Toby doesn't have his ult. And meanwhile, Hanwha Life Esports were just getting the Rift Herald, so that's going to feel very good once again to get another TP out of GENG.
Canyon wants to try to stop his back here.
He'll be able to.
Might be able to just take him down at this point. No ult available for Zeka. We got redemptions coming in as Canyon says, I want this kill. And I want it now, but the flash is going to come out as there's the W. Follow-up kill from Ruler from downtown in the jungle. Going to take him out.
And thank you for the delivery, says Ruler. I'll be taking that kill as the Kai'Sa now 3-1.
Oh, Ruler loving that moment there. Grabs the kill. A nice punish to come through from Canyon, so at least they're able to get something in return. It looked like the heavy commitment had failed there right here on this play from Keen on the bottom side because they're getting Herald and they're also getting a turret. You cannot allow this Akali to get away with it. Zeka's able to ult over the wall here. Chovy shows up, and if they don't get him here after that much of a commitment, it's a disaster. But somewhat of a greedy back location here for Zeka. Canyon gets the punish, and then watch Ruler on the angle here. Post-flash, snipes him. Ooh. And Delight tries to flash for the interrupt, but is unsuccessful.
Yeah, I think Canyon probably would have always gotten him, but denying the kill to Ruler would have definitely been a worthwhile endeavor. Does mean Hanwha Life have tempo on the next Dragon spawn, and they are a dangerous team if they can get access to a Cloud Soul. GENG, though, it's only the second Dragon, so they're going to get this one up.
Yeah, just one Cloud Drake for now is what they're going to say. It didn't look like GENG were really in a position to reset and get there on time anyway, so just kind of had to give it away. Hanwha Life Esports will very much enjoy that objective. Viper in the mid lane, he's down at 1,000 gold, but still his presence is felt, and they haven't even used the Rift Herald yet, so they want to chip away at this mid lane turret, take it down. We got a wall coming in, but The charge is still going to come down as it does not block the Rift Heralds, unfortunately for Chovy.
And that critical Herald that we talked about wasn't the team fight that they got. There wasn't a big swimming win there, but the Herald itself was picked up. They got the turret in the bottom side, and Hanwha Life down in gold technically, but have so much map control.
All right, really trying to lock down Ruler. He does have his flash. They use so much to get the flash, but it is definitely very worth it, especially when there's no objectives and your lack of ultimates don't really matter.
It's really big, because it means that the pillar gets so much more value. It means Akali's life becomes a lot easier. Kai'Sa has good self-peel, but it really is relying on actually getting plasma stacks. And if the rest of GENG isn't in a position to provide this for Ruler to reposition amidst the fight, could end up really struggling as this long-range engage from Hanwha Life actually ends up being really successful, right? Like the pillar, the lights ultimate, and these equalizers.
The way that GENG's comp can work from behind oftentimes relies on you to set up picks with the shove or a really nice catch on a single target where you can see the follow-up from Ruler, but he's never really going to be able to match Viper's damage later on. Even with the 1,100 gold lead and an item lead right now, that advantage feels temporary in this draft here for GENG, especially when Hanwha Life Esports have those turrets down and can make those big dive plays happen with this Akali that's relatively accelerated still in this game. So GENG kill lead, gold lead, which is somewhat neutralized here. So will maybe try to grab back some map control with a pick onto Zeus, but he's got Delight nearby, and I don't think GENG will be able to make the pick happen. But I do think that for GENG here, you need to really figure out where you want to fight your battles now, because you only have a few left before Viper just becomes out of control, impossible to stop.
Now we'll see if they can make it to that point in time. You can see Canyon is roaming the map. He's trying to find a big impact on the very fed Xin Zhao from early on in the game, the 4-0 at like 10 minutes or something ridiculous. And that's Thunder Sky at 9.5 minutes. But hasn't really been able to. It feels like Hanwha Life have been able to control the flow and really take the fights that will benefit them so far.
Viper has to be careful though, because if he ever does get touched by any CC from Canyon, from Chovy, or from Duro, if Ruler in a late game teamfight does get on top of him, Viper having one dash isn't going to change the fact that he will just get blown up by the Kai'Sa in a matter of seconds. Viper now with PD done as well.
And also the Shadow Flame for Zeka coming in at the exact same time. The item buy times here right as the Otacon does spawn. Means that GENG need to be very wary of a potential take and or turn off of it, as they're just going to go straight to it. I mean, Viper does an insane amount of damage, and they don't have to start this right now, but the fact that vision is cleared means GENG need to pay attention, need to be in the area.
Second item here finished for Chovy, just picked up that Rylai's and TP'd into mid. So, as you mentioned, Wolf, they need to be in the area, they need to be checking in, as they don't quite have the vision control of this objective. But I think the fact that they come in here, and it's still very early on in this game, it's not going to be any ability for them to just rush this down at this point. So they're going to take this opportunity as GENG group up to send their side laners to top and mid.
Feels like Chovy's teleport is constantly under threat by Hanwha. He keeps having to teleport in to try to support plays, and then Hanwha Life either are able to turn it into an even play or just escape entirely. And now they actually have teleport advantage here, and the push in the top lane is free for Zeus. He can take a free back right now, and that threat on the Otacon is still there. I mean, they do a lot of damage. GENG have to respond. There's the TP from Zeus. Keen will likely have to match here.
Yeah, Keen will definitely have to match. You can see that Duro's going in, but he's going to be locked down. He kind of gets denied his way out. Still has the quickness, but zoned away very low on HP now. As you see the flank coming in, has to flash the seismic shove already. And now the engage is going to be forced here by Delight. It's in onto Canyon and onto Ruler in that backline, but they have so much damage onto that Leona. They can't take out Ruler, as look at Zeka goes so deep, but eventually just goes down, and Ruler survives this entire fight. Viper doing an excellent job of kiting it out, but he's the only one alive. And Chovy goes in and shuts him down, takes the kill, and GENG take a gigantic fight.
Chovy will take no chances, even though it's just Viper. He's bloodthirsty for the kill, not allowing Viper to try and get something around this Otacon. And GENG find a colossal fight.
And Hanwha Life Esports on the turn here, a little bit sloppy. Duro's initially caught. They could have slow played this, but instead they think they have an opportunity to collapse onto Canyon. Of all players here, they look for the engage. The Light flashes in for the stun, solar flare follow-up, and try to taxi his way onto Ruler. But Ruler is too well protected, and you can see the woes of the composition here for Hanwha Life in that they don't have that much follow-up. They don't have great CC, and even though Ruler is initially kind kind of caught there after they taxi through Canyon. It's just not enough, and there's just way more consistent damage here when you actually all in on one player. Viper can't get it done alone when there's no front line and everyone else has already just disappeared.
And again, it's the combination of that reap. Oh, hold up.
Yeah, we got another fight here. Looks like HLE Esports kind of half-heartedly just kind of running in there as Duro's going to get away. It's a big equalizer, though. They take out Keen. The follow-up is there for HLE. They want to get Duro, but it's not enough. Finally, they do get him on the backside there, but in goes Ruler with the assassination. But this time, Viper has tons of room. Gets the shutdown on the Xin Zhao. And Jovi here on the run, trying to take the disengage cone, but the follow-up from the Yunara is just too big. It's 2 shutdowns for Viper's Yunara.
A good counter punch, though, coming through from Hanwha Life, taking a little bit of tempo out of GENG Seals that really wanted that mid lane turret. Ruler, though, stays alive, as I think GENG, just like us, getting a little bit caught off guard by this fight.
Yeah, unlike the last game 1 attempt here to defend turrets, this ends up being a correct sacrifice. Delight goes in, dies. The equalizer is massive value, but Keen is also cut off, and GENG can't heal because they have to deal with that equalizer burn. And from here, Viper is just like, no one can touch me. I'm a Yunara, I'm online, and even though his team doesn't have a robust front line, when GENG are this split up and you have a ton of tempo in the fight, the engage was enough to actually get him into position to do massive amounts of damage alongside his 2 carries there. And now Viper becoming a really big problem here for GENG later and later in this game as we get to more 5v5s.
Ooh, and something we haven't talked about yet, but I do actually think is now worth to mention. There's Ruler. He's there.
It's the Ruler spot. He's by himself in the Ruler spot. Who could have predicted this? He just goes down essentially for free. No flash, no way to get out. Uses his cleanse. And yeah, he just got flanked by the Trundle and had no idea. It was kind of in no man's land.
And 3 out of these Hanwha Life members have been in the LP. I think you see it right there. Ruler getting caught off guard, but also the immediate attempted collapse from Zeka to catch them in the rotation. And the fact that they were able to take down Ruler is a really big deal. The gold lead that GENG fought with a bot lane fight now gone. But the fact that there is additionally the Akali, which is such a good counter pick into the Gwen, is why we see Zeka getting to display first. Why he's able to catch him in the rotation.
And you can see the value of the mid-turret take, right? Yep. Like, that allows you to wrap around. They know Ruler doesn't have flash. You mentioned it earlier. A lack of flash on this Kai'Sa makes it so difficult to get away from the Trundle. It's a really good proactive play there from Peanut. And Ruler just thought he was safe, just did not know about that wraparound. Is punished there. Had to drop his cleanse as well. Well, arguably didn't have to, but opted to late on in that fight. Did not save him. Hanwha Life take a gold lead here again. We're dead even on Dragons. But I do think that some of the hardest parts of this game here for Hanwha Life are behind them now.
I think for GENG, they have to be very decisive about how they take these fights. It can't be Ruler being caught out. You know, Hanwha Life, if they play this guerrilla warfare and they get these picks, it's always going to favor them with the Akali, with the Yunara, with space. But if you have a GENG that engages with the Rakan, the Xin Zhao going in, you've got the Kai'Sa to lock on to the weakest target in the backline, then you're feeling good. But a couple of fights in a row, HLE Life Esports catching GENG off guard, and they have scrapped their way back into this game.
And GENG, they need the prep, because I think we saw in that last fight that they won towards the bottom end of the map, as we do see both Viper and Zayas pumping some insane numbers.
7,000 up for Viper, 1,500 gold behind earlier, doesn't matter.
Additionally, particularly with you, when we saw how that bot lane fight played out, if Ruler gets to reposition, if Chovy gets to just get rotation after rotation, I think their composition still works, but both these comps are kind of finicky. I think the GENG comp is a little bit easier, but they do need to not be caught off guard, in that combination of the Pillar, the Light's ultimate, and Zeus' ultimate is such a deadly threat for a GENG unless they're willing to heavily invest tools.
And the Gwen's behind, they don't have map control, and so it's hard to make plays. I think map control is so important for a composition like what GENG have. They have 0 grubs on this Gwen. If the Gwen was ahead, maybe she could do a little bit more insides here and start to threaten turrets, but that mid-turret still being alive for Hanwha, that defense of the turret still plagues GENG in this game. Less agency for Duro to look for wraparound plays, and Hanwha Life just continue to force those scrappy fights you were talking about, the guerrilla warfare, Valdez, that has been so successful for them in this mid and now nearly late game.
You see a fight brewing here. Delight kind of by himself. You see Viper not really able to help him out. That's the flash on in. Will they overcommit is really the only question I have, as this is just a Leona, but they are going so deep to try to kill Delight, and yes, they will, but Ruler by himself behind the play as they look to collapse. Ingo Zeus over the wall, tons of damage, but they turn onto him. Immediate double kill comes in for Keen, and now it's 5v3. Yes, some low health bars here for GENG, but they're still liking the way. They're still liking the numbers. Chovy going in by himself, but he knows he's tanky. The damage from Viper is way too much for them to handle. As the flash shuriken is going to miss, Chovy has to flash away. GENG barely get ahead of this fight.
This game is crazy! It's actually GENG to try to alive.
They've got control vision. They've got control vision. They're going to try to force GENG to rotate over. There's
GENG know about it, yeah.
They have to peel off. The peanut is just too low. So GENG will get the dragon. And there's just no response, unfortunately, for Hanwha Life fans here on the other side of the map. What
It's just a Drake.
Fight. Yeah,
it's just a Drake.
Just a dragon.
It's just a dragon.
It is Soul Point, on the other hand.
Such a wonky fight. They go so deep to kill just a Leona.
And in this moment, you could see the power, though, of the flexibility that GENG have in their composition. Like, the Gwen can just rip through health bars here, and now they're set up. The only person who's not is Ruler, but he has Duro doing an insane amount of work here to peel, because if Ruler dies here, I think this fight looks completely different. And then Chovy's near death on the re-engage was very scary, but he knows he has to do something, otherwise Viper can just hound them down and take them out.
We saw Chovy, I think, justifiably so, get a lot of flack after the game against KT. That series, he didn't have enough impact. That's no longer the case. He's playing for max impact.
You mean the first series against KT?
Sorry, the first series against KT. Very good,
a bit of a
very important
yeah.
clarification. What I want to highlight, though, is that exhaust from Keen. I think that Zeus knew that he was going to die there no matter what. If he doesn't get exhausted and his health bars are a little bit lower, that could have actually been the difference. The immediate exhaust from Keen cuts so much damage from that rumble.
And the follow-up of Chovy's ultimate there from Cannon instantly on the Viper forces him to flash. Now there's no Yunara flash for an upcoming fight here. And so Viper is definitely a much easier target in this upcoming skirmish that we're going to have around the next objective, which could very well be this Baron here. And so GENG's main goal, and will be for the rest of this game, is to blow up this Yunara, who does have a shield bow, is very difficult to kill, but doesn't have much of a front line. So if you just get access to her one time, she can't flash that engage, the Rakan coming through, or a seismic shove, or even a Xin Zhao, Hanwha Life Esports fall apart at the seams once Viper is dead in these team fights. And that flash grab from Chovy, absolutely massive.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be liking that, especially if they can force a fight sometime soon, as at least the cooldown is about halfway through, so should have it for the Drake fight. But if we sit around for 3 minutes and they don't force a Baron, maybe he could have that flashback on time, as we'll see what Keen's going to get on his back here.
Zeka might end up being the big difference maker. If he actually can get on top of the back line, can get on top of Ruler, even with the reposition, with how much money this Akali has, can blow up Ruler in seconds. The exhaust from Keen, again, I think is going to be a big tool, though, that is available here for GENG. So Hanwha Life's engage needs to be very deliberate. I really don't think you can give over a possible Cloud Storm. I think they know.
Light. Okay, he's going to get away this time.
The Ghost actually saving it.
Yeah, the Grand Entrance
are we
looks
gnashing?
pretty good, as we got maybe a flank coming in here. Yeah, the Akali's got an angle. Zeka looking for it. They want to turn onto him. And so Zeka's angle going to be denied. And now the follow-up comes in, and Zeka's just by himself. He gets taken out, essentially for free in the flank. It immediately backfires.
Throws the flash and ult there to help secure the kill before Zeka can get out there. And that's a huge pick for GENG, and they'll finally take out this mid turret.
Ruler turns around and says, I am the danger, as Zeka is trying to find the flank, gets spotted. GENG read the play, and now they start up Nash.
Okay, this is still not a free Nash by any means. Viper doesn't have that flashback, but he is ready to fight.
It's going to be up to Peanut, but they immediately turn onto him as they burst him down. The burst out of this comp is just insane from GENG, and with no jungler, that just means GENG get a free objective, and this game was so close, but immediately it's ripped open again by GENG.
Ruler turning onto the flanking Akali may be what won this game here for GENG. that choice alone. However, it's the play from Duro that guarantees the kill, and I think we've seen so many of these moments here for Duro in this first game, in game 2 here as well, and have gone, I think, appreciated by us, but man, those types of moments, you have to be snap on the flash. He was, and then here, brilliant turn, so 2 turns back-to-back on this Baron secure, and suddenly GENG have map control foreseeably for the rest of this game.
It's just insane. There's so many things that come together there. There's whoever used the Scryer to spot, then there is Canyon with the immediate turn, then there's Ruler already pumping damage numbers. It really is the entirety of GENG, and then in the fight afterwards, Keen leads with the exhaust, which sets up the slow, which sets up for the guaranteed lockdown from Duro. They're just a well-oiled machine. Humble Life still in this game technically, but I do think they need to win this next fight. They need to find a way to take down these Freds. Because otherwise they're going to not be able to play the game for the rest of it.
And I agree, and the timing of these backs here for GENG gives them just enough time to rush back over as this Dragon spawns with the Baron waves pushing. That bought them enough space. They get their back. Zonya's done for Keen now. It's a huge spike for him. GA's up for Canyon. They want this soul. All they have to do is stop Viper in one fight. Viper got his IE for this one. This is likely the fight to decide the game.
Yeah, it might just be all up to Viper as the guerrilla tactics not necessarily working out as frontlining now. The light goes in, but look at the damage on the Peanut as that's a big stun. Gets Ruler down, and now Viper's got it. The spike comes in as Peanut lives and takes down the Dragon, denies the soul once again. Trophy's gonna go down. And the Zunara unchecked in the fight means that HLE will win it big time.
They might be able to end.
We'll
The
see
death
if they
time is on like
can.
50 seconds.
Keen, though, he's gonna stop the mid wave at least. They're trying to go for bot wave.
Oh, that's hard.
I don't know
really
if they've
hard.
got enough time.
I don't think so. I mean, it's still really long death timers here, but they have to spend so much time pushing this wave through an entire turret here. The inner turret's still up. Peanut's going to tank it to try to rush this down. I think GENG will have a defense.
Baron left minions
It's
too.
close.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's 15 seconds, 10 seconds on Ruler. I don't think they can end. They can definitely get an in though, and the gold lead is gone. Ruler, I must not have had flash there. He got caught. He literally tanked a full equalizer. Are we still going? Guys, we need a moment.
They do not have Baron.
They denied the inhibitor take, actually. So they're able to get up, and the Baron buff helping. But yeah, Ruler just kind of gets caught here.
Watch this. So Ruler also kind of trolled by his own teammate, but even without that, if he had the flash available, you just need to flash over the wall immediately. You just can't take that much damage.
I mean, getting caught by a solar flare on top of it all. And you know, when the fight goes like this, where you have so many threats getting through quickly, then the untouched Yunara is just going to make it impossible for you to look for anything else, any sort of follow-up. You don't have your damage threat anymore, your main damage threat in the Kaisa, and Keen's all left alone. And that was a really decisive fight for Hanwha Life there. Snap engage onto the AD carry, and now, we're in terms of gold here, we're at 35 minutes in, practically even, just 1,000 gold in it for GENG.
And you can feel how much this match matters, because even though it would be just match point, Humble Life would still be able to fight back. Humble Life also must know, if this happens and GENG in a fearless setting get free opportunities to find a better draft and are able to rely on the powers that they've shown throughout the entirety of the year, it is possible. GENG showed it to us way back in the road to MSI, but it's so hard, and Hanwha Life's resilience cannot be overstated here.
Yeah, and just the fact that we've seen many times in this series, and in this game especially, a team take a big lead. Like GENG had the Baron push, they had the setup for the Cloud Soul fight, and yet still Hanwha Life Esports were able to fight back is just true testament to how hard these guys are fighting and the excellent setup from HLE in that last fight.
Chovy is looking for a potential punish here of a collapse onto Keen, but it will not come through. Keen has the Verdant Barrier now as well, which gives him a little bit of additional safety, actually, when he is kind of spacewalking his way alone out to these turrets. And the next objective is going to be the next Baron, right? In 90 seconds time or 80 seconds or so, Hanwha Life Esports nearly fully set to fight. I mean, they don't really get much stronger than this. There's one more item in the tank here for Viper, who obviously has tier 3 boots on top of it. And for them, they're ready to look for one of those fights where they can either collapse onto someone or just play it slow and front to back, because the composition now at this point has the damage. Their carries are so online that they don't actually have to have tanks to win it. They can just win through sure damage alone with all these items coming through.
It's so telling to me that Ruler was sitting on a BF start. I assumed he was going to buy GA. He bought IE. He is sending a signal there. And as you highlight, we're getting close to full build territory across the board. We've seen the win conditions for both of these teams consistently come into fruition. For Hanwha Life, it's the chaos. It's taking Ruler out of the fight early, and it's the amount of long-range engage and power that they have, plus the burst from Zeka and the consistent damage from Viper. Looking at the setup for the objective, we have Baron and Dragon on relatively close timers. GENG have full control of the top side with impeccable vision. They should be able to hold on to that.
I feel like Delight has done so much heavy lifting in this game, you know? Like, he sacrificed himself so much in these fights, because if you're shooting at a Leona, you're not shooting at Viper, you're not shooting at Zeka, right? And that means those carries can close the gap. And in almost every one of these fights, he's either gotten a kill alone or has used his health bar to let Hanwha Life get into position or set up that proper equalizer. He gave Duro a lot of credit earlier. He has 15 of 19 KP, but I do think Delight is such an incredibly strong factor here for Hanwha Life. If they didn't have that Leona pick, fighting these neutrals becomes so much tougher.
And see so much setup here for the Dragon, actually. It doesn't look like either team decisively wants to go for the Baron at this point in time. Not a huge amount of vision around there, but it is GENG favored around the Baron. I feel like maybe they could have started it up and looked for a turn, but again, that's a little bit risky with how close this game is. And the fact that, of course, Cloud Soul is on the line for both teams. They try to get Peanut, but he's just going to flash away, and now Duro does get the double dash out of there. But that's going to be down a flash, but that's just on the Trundle. As another pick on a Peanut. He's taking a bunch of damage. And they're looking for the Solar Flare. That's not even going to hit Chovy. He holds on to his Summoners.
So worried about this Keen flank as well, the sandwich. Hanwha Life have to make a choice, collapse on the Keen or fight for the Dragon.
Oh, look at the damage here onto this one. The wall's coming down, but it gets fighted by Peanut as Canyon goes into his GA. The equalizer is big. Ruler trying to frontline, but Canyon going to be the first casualty, but Ruler untouched as his Viper. It's so much on a thin edge here. Ruler going in with the ultimate. Wants to execute Viper to get his GA. And Ruler survives at the end of the fight. He will not be denied this fight. GENG take it down with a Ruler triple kill.
He doesn't need a GA! Only his flash and ult necessary to get GENG to teamfight win!
Look at his face!
The reaction on the player cam is priceless as well, because he knows the risk paid off, and he was able to carry his team to this final team fight victory. It took 30 in the first, but in the second it'll be a nearly 40-minute game that GENG wrestle away from Hanwha Life Esports to go up match point, one game away from getting revenge from the summer finals from last year.
Cloud Soul doesn't do anything. The steal does not matter. What it came down to was the 80 carry doing more damage than the other side, and Ruler is able to get on in there with the Zult, get the big shield, isolate Viper, take him down, and survive with the rest of his team. And again, GENG, now they are up 2-0 in this best of 5.
And how poetic that this was the position that Hanwha Life was in at the road to MSI. And either we are heading towards what it thus far has been in results, not in gameplay, a very one-sided GENG victory, or Hanwha Life have the chance to repay them for the trauma inflicted during the road to MSI.
Ruler making such a huge impact in that game, despite being caught at times. It's just a quintessential Ruler game. You know that maybe he's going to greed. You know that maybe he's going to buy that IE instead. But more often than not, it will be worth it. The risks will pay off. And yes, he's 10,000 damage down on Inara, but did so much more in the final fight that mattered most. And Hanwha Life Esports' comp, I didn't trust it. They were able to get map control. They were able to actually wrestle it back. But in the end, it's GENG who are victorious. Look at these giant dips in the
gold graph, man! And the first game, once GENG took control, they were the better team. This game, too, was so much more a back and forth, a constant struggle. I can only hope that Hanwha Life can continue that in this series, because it would be a disservice if this is a 3-0 to GENG.
You see, it's huge tension on the side of HLE. Meanwhile, in the GENG locker room, it is all laughs. Everybody having a fantastic time. GENG leading the series 2-0. We'll take a break and be back.
I'm hammer, bring the toolies out. Don't make me bring the foolie out. Back in time, I saw you with a rookie bow. Bang, bang, time to pull the hoodies out. Circle full of actors. Y'all should put a movie out. Night Rider, King Kong, shoulders, I'm a monster. Big team, bar problem, you gon' need a doctor. Whole hood behind me, raw, formers on the roster. Go back, drop it down like a helicopter. Don't ever stress a king out. My chains left miserable, critical, pitiful condition. This is it for you. I'm in the living room, in the mother room, dropping in the tour. Hitman, lyrical, murderous, same visuals, racking the bottles. All of my enemies in the air like a pile. You don't really wanna know what I've been through to get here to the top of their mountain. I was everything that they wanted, been loyal, a rider, back in the fighter, but I've been better in my own time. A time bomb, I cannot lose. Can't walk a night in my shoes, better than my life. My moves, my road, it's so freedom when it's my turn.
벽칠 생각해.
들어갈 때 말해줘.
기다려봐 기다려봐 이번에 벽 쳤어. 야, 먹으면서 보자. 천천히 높을.
뺏겼고. 자 이거 천천히 싸움 볼래?
네, 빼면서 볼래 이거?
야 천천히 보자. 야 가자.
자 괜찮아 천천히 해.
천천히.
빨리지 마.
말리지 마. 마지막. 너 가지래 봐줄래?
상태 안 좋다.
빨리지 마.
유나 높을.
유나라 잡고 천천히.
야, 윤나라.
천천히 해.
야 유나라.
유나라
봐줘야 돼. 높을이야. 나이스. 야 미드. 야 끝내.
잘 싸웠다.
라인 빨리 살려. 나이스. 나이스. 진짜.
너무 잘 싸웠다. 근데.
재혁이 형 공사 중 표지판. 미안하다. 아니 뭐야 이 개토.